Good morning, students. Once again, welcome back to the course of Software Testing Techniques. This video is brought to you by Newton's Group of Institutions, Macharla. This is Arvind Egireddy from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. In the previous lecture, we discussed about why, what, and how we do syntax testing and the grammar for formats. Now, in this video, let us discuss about test case generation. And in our next video, let us see the implementation and applications and testability tips. But this video, this lecture, let us discuss about the test case generation. So let us see what is a test case generation, what is a generator, what is a recognizer, and what is the approach what we are going to use here. So here, a data validation routine which is designed to recognize the strings that have been explicitly or implicitly that are being defined in accordance with the input syntax what we have defined. So here it either accepts the strings because if it is recognizes that particular string as invalid, or it can reject it and take an appropriate action if it is invalid. So here the routine is set to be string recognizer. So string recognizer, if it is a valid string, it will recognize it as valid. If it is invalid, it takes an appropriate action. And conversely, the tester, what he do, he attempt to generate the string and it is set to be as a string generator. So testers, what they do, they generate the strings. So the generation of the string is being done by the string generator. And the approach here, there are three possible kinds of approaches or incorrect actions that may arise. One is the recognizer does not recognize the good string, or the recognizer accepts a bad string, or recognizer crashes during the attempt to recognize a string. That is, it may the recognizer may accept or reject a good string or a bad string, but it is so done because it is going to fail. So every small specifications that lead to many good strings and far more bad strings. So here there is neither time nor need to test them all. So here the string errors that can be categorized as high level syntax errors, intermediate level syntax errors, field syntax errors, delimiter errors, syntax value errors, and state dependency errors. So high level syntax errors, the strings that have violations at the topmost level in the top-down BNF syntax specification, that is what we call it as an high-level syntax error. Intermediate level syntax errors, these syntax errors at any level other than the top and bottom level are called intermediate level syntax errors. And field syntax errors. So syntax errors that are associated with an individual field, where this particular field which is defined as a string of characters that has no subsidiary syntax specification other than the identification of characteristics that composes it. So here a field which is the lowest level at which it is productive to think in terms of syntax testing, that is what is called field syntax errors. And the fourth type of error, delimiter error. Violation of the rules governing the placement and the type of the characteristics that must appear as a separator between the fields. So if you are violating the rules while separating the fields, that we call it as an delimiter errors. Next, syntax value errors. So here, when the syntax of one fields that is going to depend on the value of the other fields, then there is a possibility of an interaction between these field value errors and a syntax error. Next, state dependency error. So the syntax errors, if we are going to use end or field values, which is conditional on the state of the system or a routine, then we are going to face these state dependency errors. So all these the 6 types of errors we will discuss in elaborate. So in this particular lecture. So let us see what is a test case design. So what is the strategy? What is the strategy? What we follow for a test case design? So here the strategy is to create an error at one error at a time. So here we follow one particular strategy to create one error at a time. So we will be creating one error while keeping all the other components of the input string correct. So in the absence of single error, the string would have been accepted. So here, once a complete set of tests has been specified for this particular single error, we do the same for double errors and then for triple errors. So however, if there are an order of n single error cases, then there will be an order of n/2 double errors and n3 triple error cases. So once past the single error, it takes a lot of judicious prunings to keep the number of tests that are reasonable, and this is almost impossible to do without looking at the implementation details. That is what we have to understand. Now let us see what is the top, intermediate, and field level syntax errors. So here, say the topmost syntax level, which is being defined as item double colon equal to A type, B type, C type, D type, E type. Here are some obvious test cases. Do it wrong. So here, do it wrong. We have to use an element that is correct at some other lower syntax level, but not at that particular level. That is a do it wrong. Then we have to, second one, use a wrong combination. So the last element, which is a combination of two other elements of a specific order. That is, we are messing up the order and combining the wrong things. D type, A type, B type, E type, E type, D type, E type, E type, D type, D type. Third case, do not do enough. So here for do not do type do enough, we discussed an example D type or E type. Then don't do nothing. So this is another type of error. So no input, just the end of the command signal or carriage return. So amazing how many bugs you can catch this way. And the fifth type, do too much. For example, A type, B type, C type, D type, E type, or A type, A type, A type, or D type, E type, A type, D type, E type, E type, D type, E type. So here we have to focus on one level at a time and keep the level above and below as correct as we can. Now the fourth one, delimiter errors, fourth one. So delimiters are the characteristics or the strings that are being placed between two fields to denote where one ends and other begins. So here the delimiter problems are an excellent source of test cases. Therefore, it pays to identify the delimiters and that rules that governing their syntax. First one is missing delimiter. See, missing delimiter. So this kind of error causes adjacent field of fields to merge. This may result in a different but a valid field, or maybe covered by another kind of syntax error. Second, wrong delimiter. See, you can see wrong delimiter. So it is nice when several different delimiters are being used and there are rules that specify which can be used where, and mix them up and use them in the wrong places. And third, not a delimiter. So there are some characteristics or strings that are not delimiters but could be put into the position. It is not a delimiter, but we are going to place it. So note the possibility of changing adjacent field types of a result. And the fourth type, too many delimiters. So the number of delimiters appearing at a field boundary may be variable. So this type of spaces which can serves as a delimiter. If there are number of delimiters in the is specified as 1 to n, it pays to try 0, 1, 2, n minus 1, n plus 1, such as 127, 128, 255, 256, or so on. Then paired delimiters. Paired delimiters. So these delimiters, they represent another juicy source to the test cases. So here parentheses are the Archie typed paired delimiters. They could be several kinds of paired delimiters with a syntax. So that you can see here, paired. So for example, begin end or begin end. So nested paired delimiters which provide opportunities for matching ambiguities. And the last one is tolerant delimiters. So these delimiters may be optional or several alternate formats may be acceptable. So in communicating systems, for example, to start the message that is being defined as a JETC. But many systems, they allow any one of the 4 characters to be occupied, that is hash CZC or Z hash ZC or ZC hash C or ZC Z hash, where I'm saying hash. What is this? This hash, they denotes any character. So any character that is acceptable. So there are many nice confusing ways to put in a bad character here. So here tolerance is most often provided for the delimiter, but can also be provided for individual fields at a higher level of syntax. That is what we have to understand. So it is a word of many edges, more than 2 for sure. And all of them, of course, they are dangerous. So here syntax tolerance is provided for user and operator based on the operator's convenience and in the interest of making the system humane or robust. So here you have to understand, it also makes the format validation design job and test format validation design job more complicated if you are going to use the tolerance delimiter. So here format tolerance, which is complicated and takes sophisticated designing to implement, and consequently many more and many complicated tests to validate it. So here, if we cannot do the whole job for design through validation, then there is no point in providing the tolerance. So here, most users and the operators, they prefer a solid system with rigid syntax rules to a system with tolerant rules that don't always work. And next type of error is field value errors. So here, field value errors are clearly a domain testing issue, and domain testing is where it is at So here, when you choose to implement field value errors in the context of syntax testing, or the other way around, or where you choose to implement the two methods as separate test suites depending on which you are going to accept the dominates them. So here, syntax testing methods will usually wear out more quickly than with domain testing. So for that reason itself, it pays to separate domain and syntax testing into two different suites. Here we are separating them. So of course, we may not be able to separate these two test types because of context dependent syntax. That is either the field values whose domain depends on syntax, or the syntax that depends on the field values. So here there is a reminder of what to look for. That is boundary values and nearer boundary values, excluded values, binary values for integers, and values that are vulnerable to semantic type changes and representation changes. And the next type of error is context dependent syntax errors. So here the components of the syntax may be interrelated and may be related by a field value or other fields. So here the first field could be a code that specifies the syntax of the subsequent field. And here you can, on the monitor, you can see screen, you can see one example. The command := pilot underscore field syntax of underscore option, where the pilot field can hold the values 1 to 9, that is the numeric values, and syntax option is option 1 or option 2 or option 3. So here the specifications further states that the option what we are must be preceded by 1 as the value of the pilot field. So actually it would have been better that we have specified by writing it as like this: command = 1 option 1, 2 option 2, 3 option 3. But that does not always easy to do. So here, to test case, the test case what we use are clearly invalid combinations of systematically valid field values and systematically valid options. So here, see here, pilot field syntax option. So this is pilot syntax option. So if we can rewrite the specification as in the example what we have seen here, to avoid such field value dependencies, it's better that we do so that doing by means of vast increase in formalities, which could be handled more clearly with a slide bar notation that specifies the relation. So it is better to stick to the original form of the specification here. So here the main objective is to make the things as clear as possible to the designer and to ourselves. And excessive formalities, they may destroy the clarity just as easily as modest formality that can enhance it. And let us see the next kind of errors, that is state dependency error. So here the string of field values that may be accepted at one instance may not be acceptable at the next, because here the validity may depend on the transactions or the system's state. What is the state at what it is present? So for example, say that the operator's command input protocol, which requires confirmation of all the commands. So after every command, the system expects either an acknowledgement or a cancellation, but not another command. So here a valid command at that particular point should be rejected even though it is completely correct in all other aspects. And if you take another example, say if the system may permit as part of startup procedure, commands that are being forbidden after the system has been started, or it may be forbidden otherwise normal commands during the startup procedure. So here, this is a classical example that occurs in the communication system. So the start of message sequence ZC is allowed tolerance when it occurs at the beginning of the message. However, because the system has an handle polished language words such as ZC, ZA, LNY or JES, ZC, ZE or DES, ZC, Z, so on. So here these rules that they state any subsequent start of the message sequence that occurs prior to the correct end of message sequence. Okay, now let us see what is source of syntax. So in general, when we get the syntax, here there is one paradox for us. If the syntax is served is being served nice with a neat package, then the syntax testing methods probably won't be effective. And if the syntax testing that is effective, we will have to dig out and formally define the syntax by ourselves. So here, where do we get the syntax? That is the big question. So ideally, it comes to us by previously defined or formally defined in BNF or equivalent or equivalent convenient notations. So that is the case for common programming language. So here command languages written by and for the programmers, and the languages and the formats that are being defined by formal standards. So now designer test cooperation. So if there is no BNF specification, then we try to get the designer to create one, at least the first version of one. So here, realistically speaking, though, if a BNF specification does not exist, the designers will have to create a document that can be easily converted into one or what he or she is designing to. So if we get the designers to create a first version of the BNF specification, then we may find that it is neither consistent nor complete. Then the test design begins with a request for classification of the preliminary specification. So by this, many serious bugs, they can be avoided. So we have to do it ourselves if we cannot get the designer to create the first version of the BNF specification. And it does not really matter where it is, whether it is being complete or whether it is correct. As long as it is down on paper and formal representation, we have to present our specification version to the designer and say that the test will be defined accordingly. So here, when we do this particular procedure, there are many objections. But of course, the results should be responsibly correct versions in the short order. So here, using a BNF specification, which is the easiest way to design the format validation test cases, and it is also the easiest way for the designers to organize their work. But of course, sadly, they don't always realize that. That is the main problem here. So we cannot begin to design the tests unless we agree on what is right or what is wrong. And if we try to design the test without any formal specification, then we will find that we are throwing cases out, both good and bad. So here, as a designers change the rules in the response to the cases, we have to show them. We have to show them, of course. And if we cannot get an agreement on syntax early of the project, or put off syntax test designing, and if we are much more concentrating on some other areas, and more productively, here we have to participate in the design under the use of getting the specification that are being typed down. By doing this, we can prevent a lot of bugs. This is the way what we have to follow. So here, the commands that have been adapted from the previous systems in the same family, whose formats were clearly specified, but not, of course, they may not, they are not in the BNF Backus noun form. This designer fell in love with the BNF, and he had created a monster that was more complicated than a combination of Ada and COBOL, which is, of course, mostly wrong. So to make the matter worse, the first version of the operators manuals was written in the top-down BNF. So the operator has to plow enough several levels of abstract syntax by not to determine which key to hit. So here, good human engineers will dictate simple, clean, easy to understand syntax for users and operator interface. And similarly, internal formats for inter-process communication should also be very simple. And there is usually a topmost syntax level with several field options and with few subfields. And here, the recursive definitions need to be very rare. So here, we will try to find useful recursive definitions in the operating system command language or by data query language for things such as sorting, data, object specifications, and for searching. And but in general, recursive definitions which are rare and more likely to be a syntax specification error than a real requirement. Next, manuals of source. So manuals such as instruction manuals or reference manuals and operator manuals, which are the obvious place to start the command language. If there is no formal syntax document, then we cannot get designer to do the job for us. So here, the syntax in manuals may be fairly close to the formal syntax definitions, and these manuals, they are good source because more often we are dealing with a maintenance situations by rehosting or rewriting the older applications. And these manuals, they can be mushy because the manuals the manual writers they try to convey complicated syntax issues in the language that is very easy for those dumb users and dumb operators. So here, another war story about my favorite bad software vendor. They had a wrong processing programming language that was designed for use of wrong processing operators. Here, the language syntax description in the manual was sketchy and which is very wrong. So whatever was words, when they confirm it as with a syntax error, it was presented by some sort of reference or tokenized versions of the source after complications rather than to the source. So syntax testing, that garbage dump was likely using a hydrogen bomb against a house of cards. It is something like that what we can think. Now, next, help screens and systems. So putting user information such as command syntax in help systems or online tutorials is which is becoming more commonplace, especially for PC software, because it is cheaper to install fewer hundreds of kilos of help material on a floppy than it is to print a few hundred pages in an instruction manual. So we might find the undocumented syntax on these screens. And if we have both manuals and help systems, we have to compare them, and we have to find out which one is correct. Then the design document, that is a data dictionary and other design documents. So for internal hidden languages, we mostly likely the source of syntax, which is the data dictionary and other design documents. And also look at internal interface standards, style manuals, and design practice memos, and common subroutines and macro library documents, which are also called as good source. And here, obviously, we cannot expect the designers to hand us the syntax of the language whose existence they don't even recognize. And next one is prototypes. So if there is a prototype, then it is likely to embed much of the user interface and command language syntax what we need. So this source will become more useful in the future as a prototype, which gained popularity. But we have to remember that the prototype does not really have to work, so that we get cloud by incomplete or wrong. Next, after prototype, program interviews. So the second most expensive way to get users and operator command syntax, which is to drag the information out of the implementation programs that are being headed by interviewing. So we get the information by interviewing. Next, experimental hacking. So the most expensive possible way to get the syntax is by experimenting with the running program. That is another way. So I hope you are happy with this lecture, and you understood the concepts. So that's all for now. So for in our next video, let us see the remaining topic, that is ambiguities and contradictions, and let us also see the implementation and applications and testability tips. Okay, so let us close the session here. Thank you.